So welcome to today's TLP Talks. We have Kinjal Shah here in this space, and who's been here before with some Empower Hours and teaching here and well-being fair participant and practitioner. And then Saeeda, Hafiz, who has been here also with some of the Empower Hour talks and the TLP Talks, and a friend that's connected in life. So glad that we can be here for, in a way, the talks this month have a special emphasis on Black History Month. And I have felt inspired to look at some of the journey of what happened through Black freedom in reference to what we see happening in the Middle East. Also referencing some of what's happened in South Asia and some of the liberation of movement of that, because it's part of what I thought I'd bring up today for today's talk is this idea of time. When we think of movements, I know when we've talked about the movement of what happened for freedom and liberation, that is still an ongoing thing, but a distinct look at what happened in Black history in America is this, 400 years of slavery until it was like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And then eventually a mindset shifted, civil rights movement. And then, of course, there's still not a feeling of pure liberation and equality. When we look at the element of time, should we be feeling impatient that things aren't happening soon enough? Should we be going, well, 400 years? Well, I don't know the years of South Asia and Indian, liberation, but it's like, how many years was, British rule and occupying that? So should we just be saying, well, it just takes us a long time, so just hang on for the long ride?
Yeah.
So what are some thoughts as we kind of, sit with that? And is there a way maybe we can speed this up because we've had history to reflect on, or can we not?
Yeah. I mean, that is how I feel, that maybe back in the day, when we look at it and we can say, sure, it took a while, but today I feel it should not. The fact that things have already not changed is the issue.
Right.
Because you would think that all over the world, whether it's Asia, Africa, South America, we have seen these things to learn and know, but it still doesn't happen.
I remember challenging my spiritual group to recognize the benefits that they end up having based on oppression, and what things they get to enjoy differently because of systemic oppression and enslaved people. And even in like present day, more around garments that get to be purchased cheaply because of oppressed, enslaved people in various countries, right? All of our technology basically comes from a lot of the mining done in the Congo.
Yeah.
That impacts women and children primarily. We don't always have our through line of how we benefit. And so it's easy to think that it's over there or it doesn't impact us.
Absolutely.
And we definitely don't embrace how we benefit.
Yeah. That's an excellent point. I feel like whether by choice or intentionally or unintentionally, we are part of the systemic issue, which is a great point. Lithium batteries or, child laborers, anything. We're so oblivious. And maybe a lot of times, many people do choose ignorance is bliss philosophy, because if we really dig into, to your point, say where it comes from, we'll be so guilty, like as in that we're still perpetuating the problem.
it can be very paralyzing. I mean, I think about this as you both know, with my plant-based life and being vegan, that I still am shocked that there's not more changes that have happened in the animal industry and how this is, because we all know what's happening in there. And it's pretty horrific, but a lot of folks will just say, well, as long as I don't have to really think about it, I'm okay. And I've come to accept, in order for me to function in this world, I could either, be just completely depressed all the time and shocked at human beings for why they would choose what they choose, or I can recognize, sometimes being in this body and being in this world, we all have something that is our calling or is our focus. And that's not everybody's focus, is to have that humanitarian or, welfare of others in mind. But that's where I guess I like thinking about this, where are we thinking then? What are we putting our attention towards? Again, kind of to your point, Saeeda, do we recognize how involved we actually are?
Yeah.
And I remember once hearing, and I think Saeeda, I forget what talk you brought this up. The last TLP talk. We vote with our fork. And it's just, I remember learning about that. Like every time I go out to eat, I'm voting, for what I think is right, and how powerful that kind of vote is.
Yeah.
And so what can I do that disrupts that pattern versus just kind of falling in like, oh, well, nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Where am I shopping? Where am I putting my money?
Absolutely.
And again, I've learned not to say like, well, if you're not doing this, you're not a humanitarian. We all have, we're doing our best to get along, but as soon as we can recognize, where can I lean in? Okay, well, if you can do that, hang in there. I don't expect everybody to do everything all the time. I know I don't. I've got many blind spots, but I know that at least putting my attention somewhere that is practicing ahimsa, it will likely have a ripple effect in some other area of life.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And one of the common things that is that, well, I won't make a difference. Like, what is me alone doing something? It's not going to change it. But we don't recognize also the power of one. As long as you're trying, and every day might look different, today you may just not, in the example of the dietary lifestyle, maybe today you're a meat eater, but you go one meal without meat, and that itself is showing up. And similarly, advocating for injustice, as long as you're showing up, and in whatever capacity I feel that you're supporting or speaking up for something that is unjust, I think that goes a long way. And it can be, like you said, it can also be very fatiguing, especially with social media. I feel like sometimes there's judgment from people, well, you're not doing enough, you're not sharing enough, you're not, and I myself have experienced this too. I feel guilty. I feel like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. Not that anybody's told me that, but I feel, oh, what else could I be doing? Should I, and then I kind of get into that cycle where then I get depressed.
I know there's like a sweet spot Venn diagram of where you can show up lovingly and, promote the cause. And that's a space to enthusiastically try to find. And I think a lot of us have that opportunity and capability of like, where's our sweet spot to make change or to move more lovingly through things that are supporting the whole earth, and beyond. So yeah, that's Maybe that's my next class, Mark. To
Yes.
show people that sweet spot so that you feel invigorated and good about the good that you're doing while, like also not feeling superior or blaming others or yourself for not doing enough.
It comes back to this, this idea of, what is that timeline of change? And are we attached to it needing to be at the pace that we're going versus there is a pace that it's part of our collective consciousness that has to shift?
Yeah.
But are we going to just give up because it's not moving fast enough? Or are we able to say, I'm in it for the long haul because I know it may take more than, my lifetime. But at least for those of us that can lean into this and weather some of the storms of responses, that's what I'm trying to remind myself. Likely there's going to be negative, repercussions, but most of it's on our ego.
Yeah.
Thankfully, however, it is sometimes on someone's well-being and their physical well-being. But for the most part, it's our egos that we're navigating. I can honestly say I feel like that's a bit of what I'm doing right now. I'm having a little challenge knowing how much to speak out about this also. I know I have this specific platform that I'm comfortable with, letting it be a place to talk openly about this. But I just see how much, like negative charge comes up around social media. I'm like, I don't know if I want to bring that into my day in this cause. But at the same time, part of what I feel like I'm also doing is strengthening myself by having this kind of a talk. And I know that being in community, talking with like-minded people, I feel more grounded. I feel more supported and more capable of stepping forward. I think some people don't need that. They're already just like, I'm going to say whatever I want. And I haven't been that kind of person. So I need a little more of that grounding and support of practicing putting myself out there. And then the other thing that we tend to do, which is just judge ourselves, kind of what you were saying, like, if I don't do enough, or where does that come from? I think I know the answer to this, but it's part of our systems that have said, like, you're not enough, you need to do more, especially certain cultures that are going to say, you should be working this hard. And it comes from probably having to compensate, to try to fit in with the dominant culture.
Yeah.
And what does that look like to not have to be susceptible to that, but still, find that sweet spot?
Yeah. And I feel also with social media, there's so much misinformation, and it is like, I feel like most people don't think or see before they share. It's like, oh, okay, share, done. And like you said, say there's a sweet spot. Like sometimes it is also recognizing, okay, what am I doing actually? Because sharing is not like sharing a post on social media is not necessarily helping. Especially, like, I feel if you see where it's coming from, what its intention is and what impact it could have, like, I'm not saying not to share, but I'm also feeling that it shouldn't be lazy activism in that sense, where people are like, oh, okay, I did my part. And maybe that is, again, something that I think about myself, like when I share. But I don't know if we all have become a little lazy in that sense of activism, whatever cause it may be.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. Maybe that's just that's the best effort in the moment of wanting to get comfortable putting forward their opinion without it being their opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
And then at some point, maybe it turns into, I have my own words, or I have my own. But I also think sometimes what I've seen with sharing is it's taking someone else who has a pretty organized opinion that you're amplifying.
Yeah.
And so rather than adding anything that might water it down, it's like, actually, this So I'm going to amplify that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But it is different how it didn't used to be so easy
Yeah.
to get involved.
Yeah.
You can easily go like, sure, share, and I did my part. So yeah, what are we? Yes, so what is our intention? What is our ability and our commitment to it?
Yeah.
Well, I want to again take a moment to reflect on I feel like I'm in more of like the liberation period of this TLP talks. A lot of the first portion of these, November, December, and January, we spent a lot of time talking on the truth. What is truth? And part of what we came around with, I think, was that the truth is actually this flimsy thing that could change depending who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So if we're waiting for the truth of a story, we're going to wait forever.
Yeah.
But that what we're really looking at is what's often talked about in yoga as kind of the ultimate or supreme truth is that we are all each other. We are interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't know that truth, bad things happen.
Yeah.
Kind of. So it's sort of that. But I feel like now I'm inspired on the second word, liberation, and in a way to reference where have people had this journey that has been at least semi successful. So again, looking at Black history in America and in the world, looking at South Asian liberations, looking at South American. And one, yes, they took a lot of time, but two, it wasn't just like one thing that happened and fixed it all.
Right.
So I want to remind myself and everyone that in these movements, sort of the inverse of the power of one, it's like there was the one,
Absolutely.
but it's also the many who had to have been staying with it. Oops, oopsie. Oh, hang on a second. We've got a little spill here. Yep.
Thank you.
We can edit this out, no problem. You know what I do is stand on it, like and just give your weight, and it really helps pick it up. Yeah, just step around. How are you, Saeeda?
I'm doing well.
We just had a little spill, so we're taking a moment to be present with the spill.
Divine interruptions. I love it. Maybe that's part of the talk where a little spill or interruption can create some sort of power.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, just meaning that you both switched your attention to it, that it needed to be cleaned up, or so that it wouldn't cause, I don't know if it's the rug or other things that would damage the rug or whatever. And sometimes just a little movement or spill or interruption gets the attention of the community.
Ooh, my mind went in a whole bunch of directions on that because it's so. I agree. I don't know if I'm going to say all the things I'm thinking of, but
Agree or agree but?
No, agree and it's about the kind of disruptions that we sometimes see.
Yeah.
And that it maybe causes a great alarm, but otherwise we might not stop.
Yeah.
We might not stop the momentum of the big machine that's saying, what? This is status quo. Leave everything as it is. Why are you trying to change anything? And even though we'll have moments and sometimes even peaceful
scenarios will be interrupted.
Well, the peaceful march, for example, might not have the impact.
Yeah.
We're trying to like make something happen, but the peaceful march is actually like, and it's not until it's a little more abrasive and intense moment that it causes someone to go, oh, now you've got my attention.
Yeah. I think it is when you started talking about liberation and especially when I was thinking MLK and how he liked Gandhi's nonviolence approach, but India's liberation didn't happen just on Gandhi's nonviolence marches. It also required many other fearless freedom fighters to show up and stand up to the British. So definitely, I think there has to be a little bit of both. And not to say that the other complementing of nonviolence is violence, but maybe I would say complementing to nonviolence is just standing up to the oppressor.
Yeah. I mean, do you have to, like, sometimes in order to, it's not like you have to speak their language, but
Right.
you almost have to energetically meet them at a level that might have them hear you, have them actually hear you and see you.
Yeah.
And that, yay, we have Saeeda in the Zoom flesh.
Happy to be here
Yay.
in
the motion picture version of myself.
Yeah. But I think I love that you integrated in real-time awareness of the spill. That's going to be my next workshop.
Yeah,
The spill.
absolutely.
After
So-
you find your sweet spot, there's going to be the spill.
Yeah.
It's true, because I think that is what happens, that when you find a sweet spot that works for your highest good and you've worked on that, to be at that sort of capacity or to understand where things are, that new you ends up spilling over to other people who aren't used to you being that way.
Oh.
And then you have to, kind of articulate how people are to treat you. And that is a very profound way to promote ahimsa or nonviolence. And I think that that works in many cultures, relationships, friendships. It's just you shift a little of how you want to be in the world, and other people are like, well, wait a minute, I don't remember you being that way, or like, why are you different? What's going on? So God help us all.
Yeah.